Good morning, this is Carly Kovacik with the National Weather Service in Peachtree City. Welcome to the weekly weather briefing for the week of August 31st. These are the main topics that we're going to be talking about today. The first are the remnants of Harvey that are expected to affect the area today through about early Saturday. This is going to bring a severe threat, particularly for Thursday and Friday. Then we're going to finally see some clearing this weekend into the early portion of next week. And then we'll be on the lookout for our next frontal system about middle of next week, and then we're also going to keep our eyes on the tropics at Hurricane Irma. So let's first begin by analyzing the current state of the atmosphere. The top image is showing water vapor, which is giving you an idea of what's going on in the mid and upper portions of the atmosphere. So we can see a circulation across Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. That's the center circulation of Tropical Depression Harvey right now. You can see moisture in the white on the back side of the circulation into eastern Texas. You can also see a plume of moisture coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, streaming into Alabama and Georgia. So Harvey's been what's responsible for the rain and thunderstorms that you've experienced through the morning today, and even a lot of yesterday as well. And so we're going to see that continue over the next 24 hours, and we're expecting coverage to increase as we go throughout the day today. The bottom right image is showing you what's going on down in the lower levels of the atmosphere. So the main feature that we're looking at for today, forecast-wise, is the warm front you see in that image. That's going to be slowly lifting north, and that, combined with plenty of moisture from Harvey, is just going to basically be our focus for plenty of showers with embedded thunderstorms through today. Shown on this slide is a radar image that was valid around 10 o'clock this morning, and it shows very well that center circulation of Harvey across Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. You can see plenty of showers and thunderstorms across that area, but you can also see a secondary plume of showers and thunderstorms coming out of the Gulf of Mexico into Alabama and then streaming into our area. So we've got that feed that's going to continue over the next 24 hours, so that's just going to keep waves of showers and thunderstorms going through the remainder of today. And now we're going to take a look at the potential for severe weather over the next couple of days. Now this is kind of a busy slide, but we're going to take it piece by piece. This is the severe weather outlook valid for today. So taking a look at the far right hand image with the greens and the yellows, that's the Storm Prediction Center's Day 1 severe weather outlook. So across most of our area, you can see the darker greens and the yellows. The greens are indicating a marginal risk for severe weather, with the yellows indicating a slight risk for severe weather. So we're expecting the highest threat to be across northwestern Georgia for today. And we're breaking it down in the other images piece by piece. The far left-hand image is showing you the tornado probabilities for today. We've got a 5% area located across northwest Georgia, with the remainder of the threat area 2%. So that's just telling you that brief tornadoes are going to be possible for the threat area, particularly in that slight risk across northwest Georgia. Also looking at a wind threat shown in the middle graphic, and that's a 5% chance across most of the threat area. And we are not expecting any hail today. The main timing for the severe weather today is going to be in the afternoon and through the evening hours, where we may get some peaks of sunshine helping to destabilize the atmosphere. So those are the hazards, and that's the timing for everything, but it's important to note that we are not expecting widespread severe weather today. It's going to be more isolated. Now this is the severe weather outlook for tomorrow, Friday. So we could see Harvey's not completely out of our hair yet. The deepest moisture is going to reside across North Georgia and maybe far eastern Georgia. And the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted this area in a marginal risk, shown in that dark green. And the image on the right is showing you the probability for severe weather tomorrow. We're looking at about a 5% chance as we go through tomorrow for severe weather. So again, this just indicates that the threat is going to be there, but it's going to be very isolated. We're not expecting anything widespread. I just want to briefly bring your attention to the possibility of some pretty gusty winds across north and particularly northwest Georgia tonight through the early portion of Friday. There is the potential that we may issue a wind advisory for northwest Georgia here in a couple hours that will be valid for tonight. And the image on the left is basically giving you an idea of what kind of gusts you may see if you live up in those areas. This is going to be mainly across the higher elevations, but nonetheless gusty all around north and northwest Georgia. We've got the yellows and the oranges indicating anywhere from about 35 to 40 knot gusts. So definitely going to notice a pickup in the winds as Harvey's pulling northeast over the next 24 hours. So if you live up there, be on the lookout for the possibility of a wind advisory. We're going to continue to analyze data over the next couple of hours and reach a conclusion here soon. Now we're going to shift our attention to the very active tropics. We're going to begin by looking at the 2-day tropical weather outlook, which is issued by the National Hurricane Center. The features of note you can see on this slide are Tropical Depression Harvey, which is lingering around northeastern Louisiana, and we've also got Hurricane Irma. So actually, when I was putting together these slides this morning, Irma was still a tropical storm, so it was just very recently here in the last hour or so that Irma has now been upgraded to a hurricane. Now this is the 5-day tropical weather outlook, so we're still seeing Tropical Depression Harvey and we're still seeing Hurricane Irma. But now we're also seeing some indication of some loosely organizing thunderstorms across the far western Gulf of Mexico. And if you look on the National Hurricane Center website, you'll see that the potential of this developing into anything tropical is pretty low, but nonetheless, it's going to be associated with heavy rainfall and some wind, and we'll monitor the track of this over the next couple of days, but right now it's not looking like a huge threat to anyone. So all eyes are going to be slowly turning to Hurricane Irma over the next week. We can see it's already intensified into a hurricane, and by the latter portion of this weekend, the Hurricane Center is predicting it to intensify into a major hurricane. Initially, its track is going to be westward, but we're going to see that slight movement to the southwest by early next week, and there is the potential that this could impact the U.S. coast somewhere. It's not clear where yet next week, so something that we're definitely going to start to monitor here, but right now we just want you guys to at least be aware of the potential. And now we're going to quickly go through the precipitation outlook. Shown on this slide is the day 1 rainfall forecast, so you can see all of the state is expected to see some amount of rainfall. For our forecast area, looking at anywhere from about a half of an inch to maybe an inch and a quarter or an inch and a half at the most. So in general, at least plan for about an inch of rain today as the majority of the moisture from Harvey moves through. And like I mentioned earlier, most of Harvey's moisture is going to be pushing off to the east and the north over the next 24 hours. So this day 2 rainfall forecast is valid for Friday. So the totals are a lot less. We're looking at anywhere from about 1/10 of an inch to maybe 1/2 of an inch across the area. And finally, by Saturday, which is day 3, most of us should be dry. This is the excessive rainfall forecast for today, so most of the area is going to be in a slight risk, with some of our southeastern counties in more of a marginal risk. And the excessive rainfall forecast for Friday is minimal, perhaps a marginal risk across our far eastern counties. By the weekend, we should be done with Harvey, which is great news, and it's actually shaping up to be a pretty pleasant weekend with high pressure in control. So I'm showing these Saturday highs, which range from the upper 70s across the north to the middle to upper 80s across central Georgia. And this is also going to be fairly representative for Sunday. We may be a degree or 2 warmer on Sunday, but nonetheless quite pleasant. And you can see the forecasted lows for Saturday night. We've got upper 50s across the north and some mid to upper 60s across central. So again, fairly pleasant weekend in store with mild temperatures and some drier air, which I think will be well deserved by that point. Dry conditions should continue into the first part of next week, and then we'll be ready for our next cold frontal system and possibly Irma. Alright, so taking a look at next week very briefly here. The top left image is showing the next cold frontal system, and this is showing it valid around Wednesday. So again, sometime midweek is when we could expect this system to move through. And then again, just to emphasize that we're also going to be closely monitoring the track of Irma. Way too early to draw any kinds of conclusions about where or if it will make landfall, so we just want you to be aware that there's a hurricane out there and it's going to be tracking westward, and we're going to be watching it over the next 7 days. So in summary, we're expecting wet weather today through Friday as Harvey moves northeast. There is a chance for isolated severe weather both today and Friday. The threat for brief tornadoes, damaging winds, and localized flash flooding is valid for today, with a very marginal threat across far north Georgia on Friday. We'll then see dry weather move in on the backside of Harvey as it continues its northeastward track, expecting mild temperatures and some drier air. That'll continue into the early portion of next week, where we'll then likely see our next cold front move through sometime midweek, and then, as I keep emphasizing, we'll also be watching the tropics.